Welcome to your lecture on moon cycles. The moon and biology. One study shows that manic depressive cycles in patients with bipolar disorder oscillated with the moon's gravitational cycles. Another study found that sleep duration was shorter near the full moon and longer during the new moon. Because findings were similar in rural and urban areas, the researchers proposed that the moon's gravity could explain these effects. Menstruation and the moon. A synchronous relationship between the menstrual cycle and lunar rhythm has been confirmed by investigative data, laboratory findings, and clinical experience. In a large study, a large proportion of menstruations occurred around the new moon, almost 30%, while at other times during the lunar month, the proportion of menstruations was much lower at about 8 to 13%. This difference is significant, so 30% versus about 12%. Moon cycles of the menstrual cycle. The white moon cycle means that you are menstruating with the new moon and ovulating with the full moon. A red moon cycle means that you ovulate on the new moon and menstruate with the full moon. The red and white cycle are the more common cycles. When you are getting your period other times, you might be aligned with a pink moon or a purple moon cycle. The white moon cycle represents fertility and mother energy. This is the most common cycle to sync up with. This cycle means that you menstruate on the new moon and ovulate on the full moon. When you are in alignment and you are in balance with the earth and moon's divine sync. When the moon is dark, you go within and bleed. Then when the moon is full and bright, you are at your lightest and brightest. Just like the earth, you are in the cycle of fertility. This is the cycle followed for practices like biodynamic farming. The red moon cycle is associated with healing and witch energy. The red moon cycle is the second most common cycle. This cycle means that you menstruate with the full moon and ovulate on the new moon. Women in alignment with this cycle are often the healers, power players, wisdom holders, and magic makers. Back in the day, women with this cycle were seen as evil or as witches. This cycle is often held by women who are here to help others. So when most people are in their darkness on the new moon, red cycle women are at their brightest. And when other women in the white cycle are at their brightest, then the red cycle women go in and heal and rest. The pink moon cycle represents coming out of darkness. Although is not as common as white or red, it is just as powerful. This cycle means that you menstruate with the waxing moon and ovulate with the waning one. The waxing moon occurs after a new moon and is when the moon is building and illuminating to a full moon. So just like the waxing moon, if you are aligned with the pink moon cycle, you are most likely in a transitional stage of your life. A waxing moon is coming away from the new moon stage of inner reflection, darkness, and rest, and is heading toward the full moon stage of light and strength. This could mean that if you are in alignment with the pink moon cycle, you are coming out of a stage of darkness and rest in your life. The purple moon cycle is associated with retreating into darkness. Just like the pink cycle, it is not as common, but still just as powerful. This cycle means that you menstruate on the waning moon and ovulate on the waxing moon. The waning moon occurs after a full moon and is when the moon is retreating and darkening to a new moon. Just like the waning moon, if you are aligned with the purple moon cycle, you are most likely in a transitional stage of your life. A waning moon is coming away from the full moon stage of fullness and strength and is heading toward the new moon stage of inner reflection, darkness, and rest. This could mean that if you are in alignment with the purple moon cycle, you are going into a stage of quietness, darkness, and rest in your life. This could mean that you are in a stage of seeing into the dark aspects of you and your life. When I say darkness, this does not mean evil. This just means the shadow self. This is a time to see what is no longer serving you and to take the time to go into your cocoon to transform and emerge into the beautiful butterfly. Let's shift the cultural narrative surrounding menstruation. In general, girls are taught to view their bodies as unending projects to work on, whereas boys are taught to view their bodies as tools to master their environment. This is an image that sticks with me, just highlighting how ridiculous the patriarchy is. And here's another example of how women have been vilified. Take a moment and think about or perhaps jot down some nicknames that you've used or heard for the menstrual cycle. The curse is one that comes to my mind. Ant Flo, Shark Week. What else can you think of? Instead of contorting your body and your life around the rules of the patriarchy, which tell us to go, push, work, do more, can you flip the script and treat your menstrual cycle as sacred? What would that look like? Take a moment, think about that. Maybe write a few things down. What can we learn from other cultures? Periods can bring physical discomfort, but can be even more painful if the community around you doesn't celebrate them. Some of us suffer in silence, shaming ourselves for wanting to lay down and eat snacks. We may isolate to spare our coworkers and friends from the wrath of unpredictable mood swings. Some of us have conditions like PMDD, PCOS, or endometriosis, which bring about symptoms that are mind-numbingly painful, yet we soldier on through work and responsibilities. Instead of looking at our period as something that gets in the way of things we need to do, we should listen to our bodies and work at a pace that feels good. The indigenous people OJIBWE, tribe from the American Midwest, uses a moon lodge for menstruation. Traditionally, Ojibwe women practice isolation in a moon lodge as a restorative practice. The menstruating woman will refrain from sex, ceremony, food preparation, and is given a break from childcare duties. Other women in the tribe bring meals, making sure she is safe and content. This ritual strengthens female relationships in the community. Their tradition shows us just how impactful meditative practices can be. In particular, using our period as a time to step back from hectic schedules, breathe, and feel at home in our bodies. Ambubachi Mela, in northeast India. For 4 days during the monsoon season, temples close and all agricultural work is forbidden. It is believed that the goddess Kamakya is menstruating, and the town puts on a festival celebrating fertility called Ambubachi Mela. So if anything, let this ritual treat you to celebrate your period by indulging in your favorite foods, activities, or self-care practices. There's a Filipino superstition that wiping your face with your own period blood can prevent breakouts. One study found that endometrial blood may have healing and regenerative properties. Take from that what you will. At the very least, it's a power move. The TIKUNA tribe in Brazil lives deep in the Amazon rainforest. And when a young girl first menstruates, she's sent to live in a house alone for 1 year. Only her grandmother is allowed to visit and teach her traditional skills, including weaving, identifying medicinal plants, and caring for families. When the year is up, the tribe receives her back with 3 days of rituals, dances, and feasts. Take some time to call your mom, your aunt, your grandmother, or any other relative to catch up for a few minutes. You never know what kind of wisdom they might impart. The Hula tribe from Northwest California celebrates first menarche with the flower dance, which can last for several days. Some members describe it less as a coming-of-age ritual, but more of a celebration of female strength. The Hula people believe menstruation is so influential it can restore balance in the world. Give your period at least a moment of appreciation, even on the days when you wish it would disappear. Some people even use their period blood to fertilize their gardens or houseplants. If this appeals to you, do your research, or you could end up with a funky smell or kill your plants. Let's talk about the phases of the menstrual cycle. Phase 1, follicular phase, 6 to 14 days long, creative superstar. In regards to the productivity aspect of a woman's cycle, the best time or the superstar time for a woman during her cycle would be during the follicular phase of the menstrual cycle. This starts the beginning of your period and lasts approximately 10 to 14 days. Here you have the most access to creative energy that you will have the entire month. Hormones are at a low point and your body is starting to increase estrogen in particular. You are open and ready to try new things. This is a good time to start new projects at work. Plan the month ahead, do some project management. Break out the Excel document and plan. Brainstorm with people in meetings. Dream big. Mastermind how you will take over the world. Phase 2, ovulatory phase. This happens on days 15 through 17-ish of your cycle, and this is the great communicator. Communication and collaboration skills are at the highest all month. The brain chemistry you have during this phase heightens your verbal skills. This is a great time to have important conversations. Maybe ask for that raise, plan to negotiate deals, and work with your vendors. Since you will be the most irresistible, try to plan ahead of schedule. You are a magnet. Phase 3, luteal phase, days 18 through 28, are associated with power for getting things done. You are most task-oriented and feel the most pleasure at completing projects during this time. And thank goodness this is the longest phase of the cycle. It's easy to focus and pay attention to minute details. We are able to leverage this attention to detail to accomplishing pretty flawless work product. Wrap up projects, bring things to completion, do administrative type tasks, your accounting, submit your monthly reports, and your expense reports. Phase 4, menstruation, is 1 to 5 days long, and this is a time of intuition and reflection. To course correct, evaluate, listen to that gut feeling. Your right and left brain hemisphere are communicating much more powerfully. You are able to access the analytical and intuitive reasoning. Reflect on the past month. How was your performance? How are you getting along with your colleagues? Are you working on the projects you care about? Is your job going in the direction you want it to? How are you thinking and feeling about your business as a whole? What are the big changes you need to make to stay happy and successful in your job and career? Get to know your cycle. Since taking an entire week off of work is unrealistic for most of us, can you at least focus on a couple of small things that you can do to work with your cycle instead of against it? A couple of apps that I have benefited a lot from are Period Tracker and Hormone Horoscope. I believe that both of them have free versions. Period Tracker is where I can keep track of my symptoms. There is a helpful graph that showed me the pattern in where most of my PMS symptoms is where I could identify the patterns in my cycle. It's also handy for keeping track of when I have sex. This app, Hormone Horoscope, gave me a lot of validation concerning the highs and lows and peaks and valleys and just understanding what exactly was going on with my body. It just gave me a better relationship to my hormones and understanding a little better of how I could take care of myself and what to expect. As for the chakras energetically, the menstrual cycle is connected to the root, sacral, and solar plexus chakras. This means that it can be helpful to focus on grounding, spending time in nature, cooking a fresh meal, or finding stillness. Sacral or flowing, spend time in water, free-flowing dance, create something. And then heating, by optimizing your digestion, getting your body moving, and sunbathing. If you wanted to strengthen your root chakra, you could wear red or use the mantra LAM. An unbalanced root chakra can result in feeling insecure, fear, anxiety, unstable, low self-esteem, anemia, over or underweight, and constipation. So getting outside can really help all of those grounding activities. If you want to strengthen your sacral chakra, you can wear orange, you can eat orange foods, you could use the mantra VAM. If your sacral chakra is unbalanced, you might feel guilty, shy, irresponsible. You might suffer from infertility or sexual issues, allergies, or eating disorders. So again, this would be connecting to water, free-flowing state, and creativity. The solar plexus chakra is yellow. If you wanted to strengthen that chakra, you could wear yellow. You could use the mantra Ram. If you are unbalanced in your solar plex, you could feel guilty, lack of energy, weakness, allergies, fatigue, low self-esteem, worthlessness, digestion, and liver problems. So this is the fire element. It would be sunbathing, working on your digestion, or working out. Is it okay to go upside down during your period? In yoga, it is traditionally advised to avoid inversions while menstruating. This idea is not based in science, but comes from ignorance about the female body. Yoga was developed for the bodies of young men, and women were allowed to join much later. It is an outdated idea that our endometrial shedding and blood flow will be reversed by practicing inversions. Most teachers would agree that each woman should listen to her own body. Is it okay to eat more during your period? Whenever it's that time of the month, we constantly crave carbs and sweets like French fries, pizza, and chocolate, which makes it more difficult to stick to a healthy, balanced diet. But you shouldn't feel guilty when you're giving into your cravings. In fact, it's completely normal and okay to eat more during your period. Your body needs more calories when menstruating. Your cycle increases your metabolic rate, which is the amount of energy you expend while at rest. The weeks leading up to your period, you burn more calories than any other time of the month. When your period does finally come, your body has used up a lot of its fuel, so it's no wonder why you're so hungry. There's a change in hormone levels. There are two main phases of a period, the follicular phase and the luteal phase. The levels of the hormones estrogen and progesterone go up and down during the different phases of your period, which affects your hunger levels. The body craves mood-boosting foods. The rise in estrogen during the follicular phase can leave you feeling moody, cranky, and sad. Therefore, your body craves foods that will give you a quick energy boost. For example, when you bite into a chocolate bar, you feel comforted and lifted all at once. The high feeling you get is the result of chocolate, carbs, and sugar-laden foods that offer a boost of serotonin and dopamine. Your blood sugar changes. Your period also affects your blood sugar level. Because of this, women are more responsive to insulin, the hormone that regulates the amount of glucose in the blood, when they're on their periods. Cravings for chocolate and sugary foods are normal in response to your body's need to raise its blood sugar levels. Just be sure to limit your intake of sugary foods, which provide a quick boost but will leave you feeling tired shortly after. Your body is fatigued. Changes in diet during your period are a natural response to fatigue and a drop in iron levels. The simple fact that your body is tired and taking on the internal stress of a menstrual cycle on top of your everyday responsibilities means it's perfectly okay to eat more during your cycle. However, it's important to also eat whole, nutritious meals with lots of greens to restore your iron levels. For as long as I can remember, I have considered food to be medicine. So I always take a look at nutrition first when it comes to managing anything that's going on with me. So with the period, things that might worsen your symptoms, salt and processed foods contribute to water retention and bloating. Sugar causes a spike in energy, followed by a crash, which can worsen your mood. Coffee and caffeine can cause water retention and bloating. It can exacerbate headaches, but withdrawal can cause headaches too. So if you're used to having a few cups a day, don't cut it out completely. Coffee may also cause diarrhea. Alcohol is dehydrating, which can worsen headaches and cause bloating. It can also lead to diarrhea and nausea. Hangovers are no fun. Spicy food can upset the stomach, resulting in diarrhea, stomach pain, and nausea. Red meat is high in prostaglandins, which cause cramps. In general, avoid foods that you don't tolerate well. These foods can cause nausea, constipation, or diarrhea. Other remedies for period symptoms include exercise. Light cardio and yoga can reduce menstrual cramps. Hot compresses, hot water bottles, or microwavable hot compresses can soothe pain in your abdomen and back. Over-the-counter medication, ibuprofen, and other over-the-counter meds can reduce your cramps. I'm a big fan of peppermint essential oil, rubbing that on my stomach and back while I wait for the ibuprofen to kick in, and then I also have a hot compress on my stomach and my back. Lastly, we have massages. Massaging your stomach or back can reduce menstrual pain. If you're thinking about eco-friendly products, first consider your needs and lifestyle. What's realistic for your life and preferences? For instance, if you're a pad user now, consider switching to the reusable variety or period underwear. If you use tampons, a menstrual cup might be right for you. Check the ingredient list twice. Look for products that are transparent about ingredients. Manufacturers aren't required to disclose ingredients, but a quality company will. For the sake of your health, avoid products containing plastics and endocrine disruptors like phthalates. Factor in cost. If you really want to save over the years, a single menstrual cup tends to be the most economical option. Period underwear and reusable pads can also help you fight back against the dreaded pink tax. Personally, I'm a big fan of the menstrual cup. It took me a while to work my way up to it. There was a long pre-contemplation stage, and then I actually bought it, and it still took me a little while longer to work myself up to using it. And then once I did, man, I am never turning back. So menstrual cups have been around in some form since the 1800s. While sales didn't take off when they were first introduced commercially, the global market for menstrual cups is now expected to hit 1.89 billion by the year 2026. Most menstrual cups are made of silicone or rubber. If you are sensitive to latex, you'll want to buy silicone cups to avoid any issues. You can use a cup all the way through your cycle, but you might need to change it more often on heavy flow days to guard against leaking. To do this, just remove and rinse your cup after 12 hours or when leaking occurs. Advantages of using a cup include lower costs and less landfill waste, no odor, fewer visits to the drugstore, more time between changes, and they're easy to use. Possible disadvantages are the learning curve. Insertion and removal can be tricky at first, especially if it's a younger girl who has not had sex or someone who is not familiar with their lady parts. Possible fit problems, individual anatomy, as well as dropped or prolapsed uterus. It also requires regular sterilization after each cycle in boiling water or by using a sterilizing solution, the same kind that you would use for baby bottles. Do your own research, read some reviews. You really won't know until you try. It's going to be important to see a doctor if you suspect that you might have any of the following: endometriosis. Heavy or painful menstruation can signal endometriosis, a condition that occurs when endometrial tissue, which lines the uterus, begins to form in other areas of the body, such as on the ovaries or between the vagina and the rectum. This can lead to inflammation within the abdominal cavity, which in turn can cause pain, formation of scar tissue, bowel problems, and infertility. Uterine polyps. Bleeding between periods, whether heavy or just light spotting, can be a sign of uterine polyps. Polyps are benign growths on the inner lining of the uterus and may form spontaneously or result from hormone overproduction. Fibroids. Fibroids are common benign tumors often found in the uterus. They can form when estrogen stimulates the uterine tissue and may cause spotting and infertility. Fibroids typically occur in women 30 to 40 years of age, according to the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology, and are the most common reason for hysterectomy in the U.S. Many fibroids don't cause symptoms, and they tend to get smaller or go away with pregnancy or menopause.